Been talking truancy and what to do, and there's more than 80,000 students missed more than 3 weeks of school in term 2 this year. That's it's twice the rate of 10 years ago. And really, really concerningly is it's nearly tripled in primary schools. So doubled in secondary schools and tripled in primary schools. What's the answer? How do we get our chronically absent students back to school? And a principal told me recently that 80%, which sounds okay, 80% attendance is actually deemed as bordering on chronic truancy. So I'll take your calls on this. Also, we're going to chat now to Cathy Chalmers, who's the principal at Greenmeadows Intermediate School in Manurewa. And we appreciate your time. I know you're busy. So, Cathy, g'day, good morning.
Oh, kia ora.
Yeah, it's a real issue, isn't it, this? How have you found it at your school?
Chronic absences are an issue for about 10% of our student population, so that's around between 40 to 45 students. It's a complex problem. It's a challenge.
How do you How do you deal with it? So, how are you approaching it? What do you do? How do you approach the families if you do it all? What's going on?
Yeah, we have a multi-pronged approach. One of our biggest little tricks in our kitty is our local attendance service. So the Manurewa attendance service is really proactive and helps our school a lot with addressing the attendance of chronic students. They act as a bridge for us between home and school.
Yep.
As well, I've got a very passionate deputy principal who's all over attendance, and he works with the families and the attendance officer and the student to come up with a wraparound plan. And that's an individual plan that helps transition the student back to school.
It's time consuming and energy sapping, I suppose, isn't it?
Yep, very much so. He dedicates a lot of his week to attendance, I can assure you.
Yeah, and
as do many schools, I might add.
Yes. Are you having progress getting these kids back into school?
Yes, we absolutely are. So in the last term, we targeted 17 students, and not all of them. Some of them we've still got attendance issues with. But there's 4 of them that are up to 90% attendance now.
Pretty good.
So it did work.
Yeah. Why are they truant?
So when we talk to them, there's 3 probably big factors that influence their willingness to come to school. For some of them, it was anxiety. They were quite anxious. So when you've been out of school for a while, they're anxious about coming back to school. We've got teenagers, obviously, so friendships is a big thing. Their relationships with their peers is sort of, broken away with them being away for such a long time. So that was a factor. Transport was a big factor. So for many of our families, getting to school was a factor. Of course, in Auckland here, we had free buses, and buses now cost. And so, transport was an issue for many. So they were the big 3.
The trend just focused on the transport. So the buses were free, weren't they? And then, so what's the cost? What's the cost now for the kids?
I think it's down. I couldn't be sure. No, I wouldn't like to say.
Okay, but the cost is a barrier.
It's about $1.50. Yeah, it is. It is a barrier for those families.
Yeah.
So we've been picking them up in the school van and bringing them to school.
Yeah, and that's the answer, isn't it? You have to get really hands-on, I suppose, which again is costly and time-consuming, but someone's got to do it if you want them back there, I suppose. $1.50 each way on the buses is now a barrier. I suppose it is a barrier, isn't it? I wonder if school buses should be free then. I mean, if this is if this is one of the answers to the issue, then school buses need to be. The government needs to look at funding them.
I think if they can't walk, if they're in a home zone, so our home zone is very spread out. It's quite large. And the students on the outskirts of our home zone, they can't walk to school. So if they can't walk to school, then, it's an issue.
How long's the walk?
Oh, for some of them, it's over 10 Ks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're not talking, a K down the road. We're talking, for some of in our area, it's more than 10 Ks.
Oh, well, no one thinks that's would be reasonable or a solution there. But the funding issue then of buses comes into play, because when it was free, you had attendance up, didn't you?
Well, those students came. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the excuse not to come to school as well. So, you know, it's a double-sided coin. That's why I'm saying it's an individual situation.
No, it really is, isn't
because
it?
of the students that we've been picking up, so we started off picking up 10 students in the morning, and we're down to 4 now. So those other students are coming to school, but they are getting to school under their own means. And the other interesting thing we found was that though they needed picking up, that they didn't need help to get home. So, you know, it's the getting to school that was the issue we had to address. Well,
that's good that they could get home. So clearly there was someone in the house that was engaged with the school, so you know they believed in. Because sometimes this anxiety thing's an issue. Because I've had a daughter that's had a few issues around this, and getting help was hard too. But the anxiety thing, and I've seen it with a couple of the kids at my son's school as well. With the anxiety, they talk themselves out of going to school, and this is the anxiety issue. They talk themselves. So the night before, they know they're not going. They know they're not going because
it's a major hurdle. It's a major hurdle, and so what you have to do is make the push to get to school more than the pull to stay home. And so it's making sure that once we've got them in school, we've got some wraparound support here for them while they're here, to help them re-engage with their learning for a start, re-engage with their friends. And so we have employed teacher aides to support that process once they're here at school, and they become, you know, mentors for them while they're here, people for them to touch base with. Oh, that's
good too. So you put a bit more effort into them than you would normally, because you've got them to school, so you want to make sure it's a good experience in many ways.
That's right. That's right. We've got to make the push to come to school greater than the pull to stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are they now? How are these kids now that are re-engaged with the school? Are they having a good experience?
Yeah, they are. Once you can get past if they're involved in the plan to get back to school, then often they come with a will to make it work.
Yeah.
And the school's got a will to make it work, and the parents have got a will to make it work. And so when you've got that three, you hit a nice little sweet spot. And for most situations, you know, it works. Not all. You know, not all students.
Yeah.
So there's also a societal factor out there that, you know, not every case is as simple as what I've just explained.
Prosecution, as I know the government's looking at this and, you know, putting fines in there and prosecutions in there, which I know the law actually allows for now. I actually wonder if it's useful to prosecute parents. I mean, I personally think it's a waste of time. I don't know how it's going to get kids back into the school, but I don't know what your view is.
I believe it's much more complex than that. It's not as simple as prosecuting parents. We've actually got to have, you know, strong attendance services that work with schools to address the issue. Prosecuting parents for their kids not coming to school. In many of the cases that we've worked with here, the parents are keen to have their child attend school. The difficulty is getting them there.